Like my flowers are dead in literally every single video I film. I promise I actually do buy new flowers. These are just... You guys didn't see any of that. Anyways, hey y'all, what's up? It's Hannah and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be doing my reading wrap up for 2022. So I have my coffee. You guys should probably get a drink and get a snack because I feel like we're going to be sitting here for a while. I'm probably going to have to change my camera battery in the middle of this. But without further ado, let's just get started. So the first book I read was People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This book follows Poppy and Alex, but everything is told from Poppy's perspective. So Poppy and Alex met their freshman year of college and they became besties, and their whole thing was that every summer they would go on these like dirt cheap vacations together, like staying in like hostels, eating the cheapest meals possible, because Poppy ran this travel blog where she would like give people tips on how to have fun vacations on a budget, and she would go with Alex. So for like 10 years they went on these vacations together every single summer, and that was just their thing. But then 2 years ago something happened between Poppy and Alex, and we don't know what happened, but whatever it was like catastrophic enough that they stopped talking to each other for 2 years. But then she finds out that Alex's, I think it's like his cousin or his sibling or something, but someone in Alex's family is getting married. And so Poppy sees this as their last shot to have one more vacation over summer and kind of just try to save their friendship. This book is also Grumpy Sunshine and has the one bed trope, which I absolutely love, and it's friends to lovers, well, like friends to strangers to friends to lovers, which are all three of my favorite tropes. So this book is an absolute 5 out of 5 for me. Okay, the second book I don't have a physical copy of because my friend is borrowing it right now, but the second book that I read was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. At the beginning of the book, we meet this girl named Monique, and she's working for what I just interpret as the book's version of Vogue. So Monique is working for basically Vogue, and Vogue gets an offer from Evelyn Hugo because she wants to do an interview with them. And Evelyn Hugo was like the biggest star of like the 50s and 60s, so like Audrey Hepburn, Marilyn Monroe type famous, like she was the it girl of the 50s and 60s. Monique starts interviewing Evelyn, and Evelyn tells about her scandalous life because like she had 7 husbands over the course of like her career, so of course it's kind of scandalous. And Monique's biggest question for Evelyn is who is like the one true love of your life out of your 7 husbands or whatever. Oh my gosh, it's so good when you find out who her one true love is. It's so good. The plot twist, I love how it's written, and overall I would give it a 5 out of 5. I promise not every book on this list is a 5 out of 5, but I just so happen to really like these two. And then we have We Were Liars, which I feel like is the BookTok book. Like even if you're not on BookTok, you've seen a TikTok about We Were Liars. So We Were Liars follows this super duper rich family named the Sinclairs. Like they're so rich they own their own island, and every summer the whole family comes to this island for the whole summer to just be rich. I don't know. Last summer there was a big accident, and the accident caused Cadence Sinclair, who's the main character of the book, to lose her memory, and she has no idea what happened last summer. And everyone is being super duper sus. Like her whole family, no one will tell her what happened, and everyone's being super weird. So the book follows Cadence in like the summer after the accident, and she's trying to piece together and figure out what happened because no one will tell her, but she knows that something's like really wrong. This book is very cryptically written because you're reading it from Cadence's point of view, which is the point of the book. Like you're supposed to be as confused as she is, which personally wasn't my favorite writing style. Again, that's the point of the book, so it makes sense. But the plot twist in this book is actually insane. Like I was maybe gonna give this book like a 2.5 out of 5 until I got to the plot twist, because genuinely I didn't like the writing style that much. But the plot twist bumped it up to like a solid 3.5. So it wasn't my favorite thing, but I think just for the plot twist it's worth reading because I was so shook. Like so shook. The next book why did I clap? The next book I also don't have with me right now because my friend is borrowing it, but that book is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover.
I just want to emphasize that It Ends With Us is not a romance. I feel like the way I explained it, I accidentally really made it sound like a romance because I was trying to spoil a lot of the book. But I just want to emphasize that this book is not a romance. I am not trying to romanticize the plot of It Ends With Us. And yes, there are like romance aspects to the book, but this book absolutely is not a romance. It is a book on like domestic violence. It's really good though. You should still read it. But just as you listen to the rest of my explanation of kind of like the foundation for the storyline, just keep in mind that I'm not trying to romanticize the book because this is not a romance. And yeah, I do a really bad job explaining, so I just want to put that out there right now. I'm not trying to romanticize this. This is not a romance book.
In the beginning of the book, Lily meets this doctor named Ryle, and they kind of hit it off immediately. And Ryle's whole thing is that he doesn't do relationships. He's strictly a fling kind of guy. But Ryle ends up falling for Lily, and then so he becomes a relationship guy for her. So Ryle and Lily start a relationship, and it's going fairly well at the beginning. But then Lily's ex, who was also her first love, comes back into the picture, and Lily never really got closure with her ex-boyfriend. So that kind of like adds to it. I can't really explain any more of the book without spoiling it. I will give a domestic violence trigger warning though, but this book is absolutely beautifully written. 6 out of 5. Let me go change my camera battery. I literally charged my camera last night so that I could film this video today, and then I woke up and it had not charged at all. Moving on, the next book is Beach Read by Emily Henry. Beach Read follows January Andrews, who is a romance writer, and at the beginning of the book, she's going through a really big writing slump. Like, she has to get her book done, but it's just not happening. And she also finds out something about her dad that like flips her world upside down. On top of her writer's block, she's dealing with this big stuff she just found out about her family. So she decides that she's gonna spend that summer at her dad's lake house, just kind of figure stuff out, try to cure her writer's block hopefully, and just get stuff figured out. But when she gets there, she discovers that her next door neighbor is her college rival, Augustus Everett. He goes by Gus in the book though. And Gus and January were always competing, like who is the better writer, who is the best at this, like all that kind of stuff. Gus is also a writer, and he writes like, I don't even know, but it's like the opposite of romance. It's like sci-fi, like apocalyptic, like end of the world, happy endings don't exist kind of right. But he's also going through writer's block, so Gus and January make a deal that they're gonna try to write a book from each other's genres. And in order to help each other do that, they're gonna take each other on like little like research things just so they can better grasp the concept of each other's books. Like January will take Gus on like stereotypical rom-com dates, and then Gus, for his research to help January, literally takes her to interview like cult members. So they're polar opposites. It's rivals to lovers. I love how you see their character development grow, and it's definitely deeper than just like their relationship. Like they were both struggling with stuff and they kind of help each other through that, which I think is really beautiful as well. And I would give this a 4 out of 5. Next we have November 9 by Colleen Hoover. Let me explain this book before I get into my impassioned rant about how much I hate this book. It follows Fallon and Ben. So Fallon, when she was 16, she was like the it girl of Hollywood. She was the star of this like Nancy Drew show. Her career was going great. She's also like a nepotism baby because her dad was a famous actor or whatever. But anyway, she made a name for herself. She's really famous. It's going great. But on November 9th, thing happens that just like totally ruins Fallon's career. Fallon and her dad have a really bad relationship. So at the beginning of this book, Fallon and her dad are having this like brunch thing, and they get into a huge argument, and that's where Ben comes into the picture. So Fallon and Ben meet, and Ben is a writer, and they kind of just immediately hit it off. But the catch is that the day they meet is the day Fallon is moving to New York. So they basically make this deal where Fallon promises Ben that she's going to go to New York and she's going to start trying to act again. And Ben is going to start writing a book about what their relationship could have been like if Fallon wasn't moving. It's very insta-lovey, I will say. I'm sorry, I really don't like this book. I'm trying to give this review, or like give the synopsis without being too negative yet. And so they make that deal, but the big like catch to the deal is that they're not allowed to have any contact with each other for like the entire year. So they block each other on social media, no phone numbers, no nothing. And on November 9th every year for the next 5 years, they're gonna meet and kind of just update each other. So you watch their relationship over these 5 years, but the book is only told on November 9th every single year. So there's no filler, there's no in between. I hate the plot twist in this book. The plot twist in this book makes me so mad, and I hate how it ends. I do not like this book at all. I'll give it a 3 out of 5 just because I kind of liked the beginning. Actually, no, 2.5 out of 5. It's a 3 out of 5 on my Goodreads because you can't do 0.5s. But I don't like this book. But this book is very much either you love it or you hate it. Like, I know there's some people who absolutely love this book. The next 2 books I don't have because I borrowed them from my friend. But the first book is All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. And we can put my rage for November 9 aside because I love All Your Perfects. All Your Perfects follows Quinn and Graham, and this is also told in past, present, and in the book they're called then and now chapters. So the then chapters are how Quinn and Graham meet and how their relationship starts, and it's so cute and it's so perfect. But then in the now chapters, Quinn and Graham have been married for 7 years, but they're struggling with infertility, and it's tearing their marriage apart. And so the book is their struggles to kind of just try and save their marriage, and it's so heartbreaking, but it's so good. I can't say anything else about the book without spoiling the plot, but that book is so good. Colleen Hoover knows how to break you, and overall I would give it a 5 out of 5. And the other book I don't have with me because my friend let me borrow it, like I said, is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren, which, by the way, fun fact if you didn't know, because I always forget this and a lot of people don't know it, Christina Lauren is actually 2 people, not 1 person. They're like co-authors, which I think is really cool. The main character in Love in Other Words is a girl named Macy, and when Macy's like 5-6 years old, she's like really little, her mom passes away, and her mom makes her dad promise to have a place for Macy to get away when life gets too tough, when things get too hard, just so she has an escape. So Macy's dad goes and he buys them a lake house. Every weekend they'll go to their lake house, and immediately when they get there, Macy meets their next door neighbor, a boy that's her age, and his name is Elliot, and they meet because he was sitting in the closet in her new room because he would read in there. Elliot loved to read, Macy loves to read. It was a perfect little duo, and they instantly hit it off. You kind of watch them grow up and kind of just like get to know each other more. They're best friends, they're each other's first loves, but then something happens which, per book tropes, you don't know what happened, but it was so bad that Macy cuts Elliot off for 11 years, has not spoken to him in 11 years, and then one day she's just chilling with her friends and she sees Elliot again, so it kind of restarts everything. And this book is also told in past, present, so the past chapters move up as you watch them grow up, and then the present chapters are like just them kind of getting to re-know each other after 11 years. The plot twist in this book broke me into a million little pieces. Oh my gosh, but this book is so good. This book also takes place in the Bay Area, which made me like it even more because I'm from the Bay Area, so I was like, oh, I know these places, like I've been here kind of thing, which is just like a little thing, but it made me enjoy it even more. Overall, I'd give this book a 6 out of 5. Oh, Elliot is also literally the embodiment of a teenage Andrew Garfield, and I love it so much. We're getting through the stack. We're getting there, guys, I promise. But next up, we have The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, which, if you didn't know, this was originally a Raylo fic, which is why Adam looks like Adam Driver. In The Love Hypothesis, Olive is a third-year PhD candidate, to be specific. That's what it says on the back of the book. And she's not a big romance gal, like dating's just not her thing. But she went on a date with this guy named Jeremy, who I swear is literally Ed Sheeran. But Jeremy ends up like developing a crush on Olive's best friend, and Olive's best friend likes Jeremy too, but because girls like sisters before misters, Olive's best friend is like, no, I'm not gonna date him, and Olive's like, no, it's okay, you guys would be really cute together. So she convinces them to go on a date, only because Olive is like, I'm actually going on a date tonight. Miss Girlie was not going on a date, and she was actually in the lab doing work when she sees her best friend walking down the hall. So she freaks out, grabs the first person she sees, and just plants one on them, like full on making out with them. And when she pulls away, she realizes that she has kissed Adam, who is like the scariest professor on campus that no one likes, and so she's freaking out because she's like, he's literally gonna sue me. But turns out that it'll work for both of them if they start this fake dating relationship. So Olive and Adam start fake dating, and it's okay because he's technically not her professor, so it's fine. And we all know where the fake dating trope goes. Personally, I know a lot of people love this book. I didn't like it that much. It was okay, but I love when characters are super three-dimensional and you feel like you really get to know them and like they're a whole person. But I feel like Olive and Adam are very 2D. Like I feel like Adam has no personality except for the fact that he hates everyone except Olive, and that he's rich and he'll buy her food. I don't know, it feels very 2D and like they're not fully developed characters. Like I feel like there's just not a lot of development for them. It was a fun read, although it fell flat for me kind of like halfway through. It wasn't terrible, but it's not something I was like thoroughly enjoying. So I'd give it like a 3 out of 5. It was mid. And we have the Song of Achilles, which my friend is also borrowing, so I don't have the physical book for you right now either. But the Song of Achilles follows Patroclus. I say Patroclus. I'm really sorry if that's wrong, but I'm just going to keep saying Patroclus. But it kind of just follows the love story of Patroclus and Achilles, and in the book you just watch them meet when I think they're like 13 when they meet, somewhere around there. But you watch them meet and you watch them grow up together, and like you just watch their love story from when they first meet to the end of the story. The writing is absolutely beautiful in this book. It's like Great Gatsby level pretty. It's like you're just reading a whole book worth of poetry. It's really, really pretty, but personally, I think the internet's gonna attack me for this. It's not that I didn't like the book, I just wasn't invested in the story, like, at all. Like, I never got invested in Patroclus and Achilles' relationship. I'm gonna be honest, both of them kind of irritated me through, like, a lot of the book. I was just kind of like, what are you doing? But I think a lot of that just stems from the fact that I was never, like, a Greek mythology person. I've never been into it. So I feel like if you had a Greek mythology phase, you'll probably be a lot more invested in the book than I was. Like, I liked it a lot. I just wasn't invested at all. So I would give it like a 3 out of 5 because the writing is absolutely beautiful. And then we have Normal People by Sally Rooney. I would read this woman's shopping list. She can write. I just got Conversation with Friends by her and I'm so excited to read it. But Normal People follows Marianne and Connell, who come from 2 completely different worlds. Like, socially, like social status, Connell's super popular, Marianne is super not. Economic wise, like Connell's mom is Marianne's family's like maid, so they're just from completely 2 different worlds in every single aspect. But the book just kind of shows how no matter what, like no matter what they go through in their lives, they always seem to come back to each other. Like they're just connected. It's very, I don't know, it's hard to explain without reading it. But it kind of just shows how no matter what they go through in life, even if they don't want to be connected to each other, like even if they want to forget about each other, no matter what, some way, somehow their lives are just connected. And I feel like it's very real because it's not like super lovey-dovey. It's very real. It's normal people. It's a normal relationship. Like I said, it's very hard to explain without spoiling any plot of the book, so you kind of just have to read it for yourself. But 5 out of 5. I love the way this book is written. Yeah. Next up, we have You've Reached Sam by Dustin Thau. And in You've Reached Sam, Sam and Julie are high school sweethearts. They absolutely love each other and they have their whole lives planned out. But then everything is flipped upside down when Sam dies, and Julie is having a really hard time processing his death. Like, she's not really grieving, she's not really like coping at all. It's really hard for her. So she decides that she's gonna call Sam's voicemail one more time just to hear his voice again. And when she calls him, to her surprise, he picks up the phone. So they found a way to have this connection even though Sam has passed, and Sam's goal is to kind of use this to help Julie move on, and the book just kind of shows like her struggles with moving on and like coping with the fact that everything is changing, and Sam's struggle with like being dead, you know? I think the concept of this book was super, super, super cool. Like, I loved the idea of it, but personally, just for me, the execution wasn't perfect. I feel like the book just could have gotten deeper and like gone to a deeper level, but it didn't, and it stays kind of surface level, which it was a good book. It's just I was hoping for more and the more wasn't there. So I would give it like a 3.5 out of 5 because the next book I read on like e-read from the library, so I don't have a copy of it. That is Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I read a lot of Colleen Hoover this year just because she's so popular that I just wanted to like, I want to get the hype. Ugly Love follows Tate, and Tate is moving in with her brother for like a month while she's waiting for her apartment to be ready. And her brother is an airline pilot. But the airline that he works for, they house all of the pilots in this one like apartment complex. So all of his neighbors are his co-workers and his friends. And so Tate meets, in a very unprecedented way I will add, she meets her brother's like best friend, her brother's best friend, who's this guy named Miles, and Tate and Miles start a friends with benefits relationship. And Miles' whole thing when this friends with benefits relationship starts, and he tells Tate this up front, is that no matter what, this is never going to be anything more than friends with benefits, because something happened in his past with his ex-girlfriend named Rachel that just made him like never want to do relationships, never fall in love again, and you don't know what happened yet. And of course, as that goes, they both start developing feelings, and Tate is just like, she wants to make it work, she wants to make it happen, and Miles is just very adamant. He's like, no, I told you this isn't gonna happen. Obviously that doesn't work, and so there's drama. But the book is also told in past, present, and all of the present chapters are from Tate's perspective of their friends with benefits relationship as it's happening, and the past chapters are from Miles' perspective. And you watch his relationship with Rachel, who is his ex-girlfriend, grow and develop until you get to the point and the reason of why he refuses to ever do a relationship again. And when you get to the point of the book where you find out what happened, sobbing, crying, oh my gosh. I love this book so much. This is another Colleen Hoover book where I feel like people either love it or they hate it. I love this book. I will write a full like thesis, a full essay in defense of Miles if I need to, because I love him so much. This book is a 5 out of 5. I think I read it in like one shot. I was so addicted to this book. I could not put it down. And continuing on the Colleen Hoover train, we have Heartbones, also by her. Heartbones follows Bea. Bea grew up with a not great life. Like, she was kind of just going through the most, had a really rough childhood her whole life. And the summer she's 18, the summer she, like, right before she's gonna start college, she goes to live with her dad, who she doesn't have the best relationship with, but her dad is, like, pretty rich. He has a new wife, he has a new family, and she goes to stay with him, and she gets to know, like, her step family or whatever. But as she goes to stay with him, she meets her stepsister's boyfriend, and her stepsister's boyfriend's friend named Samson. And Samson is also the literal embodiment of JJ from Outer Banks. If you need a visual, that's what I was imagining. But Samson and Bea are kind of like immediately attracted to each other, even though Bea is like, no, I don't want to do this. And Samson's kind of just like, hey. So they kind of start a relationship, and it's a relationship filled with a lot of secrets on both of their parts. Like, Bea doesn't want to talk about her past, Samson doesn't want to talk about his life, he's very secretive. So the whole book is just filled with like a lot of secrets and trying to uncover secrets. This book was good. It's not my favorite Colleen Hoover book, but it's not a bad Colleen Hoover book. It's just not my favorite thing ever. So I would give it like a 3 out of 5. That was kind of a bad summary, but it's hard to explain Heartbones without spoiling any part of Heartbones. Alright, y'all, we are down to the last 2 books in this video. Next up we have yet another Emily Henry book. This is her most recent release, and this is Book Lovers. It's kind of hard for me to explain Book Lovers without spoiling it, so I'm just going to read you guys the back of the book because I think that does a better job of doing it without spoilers than I can. One summer, 2 rivals, a plot twist they didn't see coming. Nora Stevens' life is books. She's read them all, and she's not that type of heroine. Not the plucky one, not the laid-back dream girl, and especially not the sweetheart. In fact, the only people Nora is a heroine for are her clients, for whom she lands enormous deals as a cutthroat literary agent, and her beloved little sister, Libby. Which is why she agrees to go to Sunshine Falls, North Carolina for the month of August when Libby begs her for a sister's trip away, with visions of small town transformations for Nora, who she's convinced needs to become the heroine in her own story. Instead of picnics in meadows or run-ins with a handsome country doctor or a bulging four-arm bartender, Nora keeps bumping into Charlie Lastra, a bookish, brooding editor from back in the city. It would be a meet cute if not for the fact that they've met many times and it's never been cute. If Nora knows she's not the ideal heroine, and Charlie knows he's nobody's hero, but they are thrown together again and again, and a series of coincidences that no editor worth their salt would allow, what they discover might just unravel the carefully crafted stories they've written about themselves. So, like the back says, they just keep getting thrown together even though they really don't like each other. And it's kind of like it's not grumpy sunshine, it's grumpy. And they kind of just have to melt each other, like, away from the ice. I will say at the beginning, it is very cheesy. I was kind of like, Emily, what are you doing? But you get further into the book and it gets so good. I love the plot twist. I love Charlie. I love his character development. 5 out of 5. My battery's dying, so we're gonna change it one more time for the last book. Y'all, we are on the last book of this video. I need one more sip of coffee. So the most recent book I've read is The Unhoneymooners, also by Christina Lauren. And The Unhoneymooners follows Olive, who has like the worst luck in the world. Like any bad thing that can happen in a situation happens to Olive. And Olive's twin sister is the opposite. Every good thing that can happen happens to her sister. Except for at Amy's wedding, because the entire wedding party, all the guests, everyone who showed up gets extremely sick and has like the worst level of food poisoning possible from the buffet, except for Olive and Ethan, who's the best man, because they're the only two who didn't eat the buffet. So Amy and her husband are like, you and Ethan need to go take our honeymoon for us because it's non-refundable and we can't go. But Olive and Ethan hate each other, like ever since they've met, have hated each other. Like it's like a deep-seated rage. But it's a free trip to Maui, so they go and they have to pretend to be married. They hate each other and they have to fake date. So it's that trope. It's enemies to lovers and fake dating. Now they have to fake date. They have to pretend to be in their honeymoon phase, newly married. Woo! So it's enemies to lovers, it's fake dating. I really like this book. It's not my favorite book, but I laughed out loud. It was fun to read. I'd give it like a 4 out of 5. That was a really bad review. I think I'm just incapable of talking about books for any longer today. Alright, but we made it to the end of this video and got through every single book. If you stuck it through to the end, comment down below with this emoji so I know that you made it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!